She's got it going on. Miss Debbie wanted me to show you. She's been working feverishly to make cups this week. Anybody going home this week? Ignorance. Oh, yeah. I was only talking to the weirdos. People that don't live here all the time. People that like snow. Get out. I don't even know who you are. Anyway, if you happen to be headed back yet, be sure and take some cups with you. Helps you remember where you're from. And it would help reduce our stock. Also, our coffee team wanted me to remind you, the best way for us to increase our mission with coffee is for you to take some home and give it away. And you may not know this, but we created this little portion pack of coffee. It's $3, and it's a pot of coffee. So, I mean, if you got somebody slow back home that can't measure coffee, you just tell them open the whole packet, dump it in their filter, fill it full of water, they're done. Okay? 12 cups. Awesome. So if you'll take some of those with you, take one, at least take one, take it back to your church up north, to your pastor up north, and say, look, the crap you've been feeding us sucks. We got some better stuff here, right? Be a giver. Be a giver. Spread the love. But no, Steve, New York Steve, he went through 150 packages of that last year. They had a little festival in their town, so he ordered 100 packages of that, and he just gave them away. And his motto is, if we can find the one person, if all of us got together and we just found the one person who represented a larger group of people who would really take this thing off, then the church influence we have in Guatemala and the people that are influenced down there, it would blow up. I mean, it was just, they would have zero worries as far as what they're struggling to do to get the gospel out. They wouldn't have any worries. So if all of us have that same mindset, let's just find the one. You know, quit saying you're not the one. Help us find the one. Those little packets might help do that. So think about that. Again, if you don't understand what we're doing with coffee, be sure and talk back there, because we don't just have a coffee shop because it's cool. We were cool way before coffee. But there's a lot more going on there. Check it out. So we're going to get in the Word. Our whole family's been sick for a week, so we're just now starting to feel better, which is awesome. We're thinking we might not die. We don't know. We don't know. It's okay if we do, I guess. But we are going to jump right in, and let's just start something new. But if you'll remember, last week we talked about, I don't even remember what we talked about. I've slept 3 weeks. Huh? Oh, where you're sitting. That's right, where you sit. And we talked about Elijah, and what's really cool is that what we're going to talk about today is a preface to that verse where we saw Elijah sitting under a broom bush. So it was really cool. I'm studying, I'm like, oh, we're going to talk about this, and I love this story, and then I'm reading the story about Elijah, and you'll see it here in a minute. And then it goes into that verse. So we're going to repeat that verse about the broom bush where he sat as we get in there. But we're going to start Matthew chapter 11, verse 2. And I hope today challenges you. It'll change you. Maybe it'll speak to you. Be one of those people. We were reading this morning in Philippians, and Paul's talking this verse. It really stood out and made me laugh. He's reading the Bible, or he's writing the Bible. Think about that. And he tells Philippians, he says, I'm sending this to you. I'm sending it to all of you. Not just you, not even to the leaders and the elders and the deacons. Like he specifically had to tell them, everybody needs to be looking into this. It's not just for the common folk. Okay, don't be just reading this stuff out to people. And that's sort of been my motto so far in 2019. And I told our class, the teaching I've always had was that I had to be better. I had to accomplish things. I had to learn things. And then you help people from somewhere you've already been. Right? So I had to learn. And then what comes with that is a perception of perfection. Yeah, I know. You thought I was perfect. I got it. But I really thought that's how it was supposed to be. I really thought that I was supposed to have it all together. And if I didn't have it all together, then I couldn't help people who didn't have it all together. And that one verse led me to know that's crap. Because none of you or me or us got it all together. We all lack in a whole lot of areas. And the quicker we are honest with each other, and the quicker we're honest with the planet, right, the more God's glory is shown. And the more faith people have in Him. See, I think people have lost faith in us, thankfully. I think, this is my belief, that we as church people, Christians, especially leaders, have taught the planet that we knew the best way. We had it going on. We told them we knew the best way. And over the past couple of years, and I think it's just been the past couple of years, the planet has looked at us and saw our failures finally. And they've said, you don't know crap. You don't have it going on. And they've lost faith in us. Cool. Now, we've got to turn around and give them faith in Christ. Because we have tried to get them to have faith in us. We have told the world we know how they should do things. We have told the world we know how they should believe, how they should act, how they should learn. We've told them that we know, and now they're looking at us and they're like, y'all are a bunch of liars because you don't know how to act. You look just like us with prettier clothes on. You look like us without a golf game on Sunday. They've lost faith in us. That's cool. I'm glad. If we turn it around. If we put it back on Him. If we're honest and we say, you know what, we don't really know how you should do it. We know how we should do it in Christ. And we're going to do that. We're going to live that life. And we're not going to tell you how to live yours. Because we're having so much trouble living the one God called us to live, I don't have time to help you live yours. And I'm going to get honest about the struggles. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to ask the question, how many of you, and this is rhetorical questions right now, I'll tell you when I need you to raise your hands. How many of you have giants that you face? And I know the Giants don't really have a team in March Madness, do they? There could be a basketball team called the Giants. I don't know, but there's not. How many of y'all have some sort of obstacle that you face, you know, that there's a challenge, that something comes up? And what we're really going to focus in on today is a doubtful one. It is something that causes you to have this doubt. One of the things that I will hear, and you will hear me say, all right, I do not doubt my salvation. Okay? That is a doubt that I firmly believe I have solidified. Okay? I believe in my salvation. Now you can raise your hand if you believe that about yourself. Okay, I believe my salvation. Okay, that's good. That's good. That was not for those who don't have your hand raised. That was just the preface. Now, one thing I will tell you that I have not ever been honest with you about is that I don't always not doubt God's presence in my current situation. And I sometimes doubt God's ability to get me through a current situation. And I will tell you, I don't necessarily think that out loud or say that out loud, but I live that out loud. I create my own plan to fix things. I find the problem, I identify the problem, and my therapist will tell you, I use logic to try to fix the problem. How many of you, it's okay to raise your hand on that one, how many of you logically go through the process of fixing the issues in your life? Now, there you go. No, Stephen, you are a more emotional person. I agree with you, all right? My doctor would like me to be more emotional. So would my wife. So this week I cried in a baseball movie. Did you even know I did? Oh, I was trying to show you. Didn't you feel my belly go? I'm not willing to make it an ugly. Wes says he cries ugly, right? I think I probably cry ugly too. I don't know. I'm trying to hide that part. Anyway, we're going to get there. But we're going to, the honesty about it, the honesty about my doubt, right? And that's something that I think we need to address. So if you're sitting out there right now, you're like, I don't doubt God. Nope, God's got it all, absolutely. Go home. You're free to go. Because I honestly believe that all of us at some point have had to deal with it. And how we deal with it is kind of important, right? And we're going to look at quite a few people who've had to deal with it. Isn't it? Let's just look at Matthew 11:2. I've called for it a long time ago. John the Baptist, who was in prison. Who was in prison, heard about all the things the Messiah was doing. So he sent his disciples to ask Jesus a very, very important question, right? If you've got some friends that you want to send Jesus to ask a question of, this is the one. Ask him this question: are you the Messiah we've been looking for? Or should we keep looking for somebody else? John the Baptist. Do y'all know when John the Baptist met Jesus? Go ahead, tell me. Thank you. Who said the womb? Dude, Theology 101, baby. You said the womb too, John? Nice. Yeah, John the Baptist met Jesus in the womb. Not the same womb, womb to womb. His womb was right next to the other womb. I could go on, but I'm not gonna. So John the Baptist recognized who Jesus was in the womb. I gotta quit saying the womb. Before either one was even known to the planet, they knew each other. They knew who. John the Baptist popped out of the womb and probably said, "Where's Jesus at? I already met him." John the Baptist baptized Jesus in a river, and while they were standing there, heaven opened up. A dove flew down with the voice of God and announced to John the Baptist, "This is my son." And then, no, I wasn't asking. And then, oh, y'all thought I'd forgot the verse. I wasn't going to that part of the verse. He just announced, "He's my son." In case you're wondering, he's the guy. You know, the one you met in the womb? Same one. If anybody had zero reason to doubt who Jesus was or what he could do, it should have been that guy. It should have been John the Baptist. But in John's brain, here's what John thought. Jesus is going to ride in and put Israel at the top of the list. Going to make them supreme beings. He's going to rule. The Jews are going to rule the planet. We are going to take this thing over, man. Everybody's going to look at the Christians and go, "Oh, what should we do?" Because that's what they thought Jesus was going to do. So John finds out, John's in prison, and he's ticked off. I baptized the guy, and I'm hearing all these stories about how he's walking around telling people that they should just love each other, they should have peace with one another, and they should just chill out. And I'm in prison because of this. Or I'm in prison, and he should have. You all, go ask him. Do we just give up, or is this it? I mean, is this all that Jesus came to be? If it's not, let us know, and let's leave this guy alone and go find somebody else. That's pretty good doubt. Pretty good doubt. You're not like that, though, right? Right? Say no. Liars. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Come on, Jesus, I didn't sign up for this. How could people across the world be getting beheaded? That's stupid. Come on, Jesus, that's not how this is supposed to go. How are babies being killed? How is abortion such a cool thing in America? That's not how it's supposed to go. What's wrong with you? Don't you know what's going on down here? Don't you know what you need to do to fix things around here? You need to take control, God. You need to straighten these people out. Should we just look for somebody else? Should we just look for another way to fix this? Should we take to the streets, maybe? Should we take matters into our own hands? John the Baptist would ask the same question. Why don't y'all get me out of this prison and we'll do this ourselves? I'm tired of waiting on what God's plan is. He's not listening to me. It's just not right. But isn't it weird when Jesus calls you to action and that action caused you to doubt his authenticity? Jesus seems to zig and you zag. You know, he calls you to do something, and then all of a sudden you're out doing it, and then you're like, wait, it's not how I planned this out. That's not how this is supposed to go down. It's kind of like this. Have you ever recommended a restaurant to somebody? Right? And you're like, oh my God. Sherry and I just did this. That's why it came to my mind. You got to go do this. And so we told Paul and Brenda, you got to go try it. It's the best restaurant. Yeah, nobody else owns one in here. We're okay. It's the best restaurant on the beach. Okay? We told them, you just got to go. I mean, better than anything any of you have ever been to. I promise. So we told Paul and Brenda, and Paul goes, it probably won't be that good. And I started to think, he's right. I mean, have you ever done that? You're like, hey, listen, we found this great place. Service, awesome. I mean, the food is like hot, fast, good. And I put a first bite in my mouth, and like I melted, right? And you're like, would you go? We want to take you. And they're like, yeah, let's go. They're like chomping at the bit. You take them, and you get there, and there's like an hour wait. And then they seat you in a dark section, and a roach runs across the table. Palmetto. Yeah, we don't have roaches. Palmettos. Right, and then the waitress never comes to the table, and you're sitting there, and you're like, it wasn't like this, I promise. You know, the expectations are so high, and then, boom. The air is just, y'all are wondering what restaurant I'm talking about, aren't you? Tough. I'm not telling you because that's what'll happen. You'll go there and you'll be like, I ain't listening to recommendations from him. Just take my word. Oh, but if you want to take me out, we'll go with you. That's how you know. It just didn't turn out the way that you thought it would turn out. I mean, anybody? I mean, have you? No matter what it is in life, you go into something and you got this expectation, and then at the end of it, you're just kind of like, not as good as I thought it was. You go to a movie. I mean, have you ever left a movie wanting to go find the guy who wrote the trailer and punch him dead in the mouth? Like, you set me up, you sucker. Give you all the really good parts, and you're like, what's going to be good? And then you're like, it's not even the same movie. It's just like it builds, and then the expectation, and then boom, drops. That happened in your life? Has it happened in your marriage? Has it happened at your job? Has it happened in your relationships of your family, of your friends? You had this expectation, and then boom, fall flat on your face? It's fine. What did you do? Now, what happens when it happens in your faith? That you have this expectation of God, and then it just seems like the air got let out of your tires. And it really just feels like God's left you out there to hang. He just left you out there. And then some well-meaning Christian, God love their soul, will come to you and go, well, have you thought about what sin led you here? I had a preacher tell me one time, yeah, anytime you're having a bad time in life, all you got to do is think back to the very last sin you committed, and that's what got you here. That's serious. I'm a preacher. Stupid preacher, but it's not true. It's not true. The fact of where you live just happens. It's not always your fault. I mean, some of us are idiots a lot of the time, but not always. But our expectations are risen and then dropped. How do you handle these unmet expectations with Jesus? Are you even willing to be honest to say, I have some unmet expectations with Jesus. I thought he was going to do some things that he didn't do. I believed him to do some things, and he never came through. There were some things I thought would never happen as long as I was following him, and yet they did. And I have a problem. I have a problem. If you're willing to get there, step one. Here's what I want to know, or I want to tell you. God doesn't always live up to your expectations, but he always, always, always lives up to his word. That's something you can bank on. If he said, I'll be with you, then he'll be with you. If you heard her song, if what he says of you, then it's true. If he says he'll never leave you, if he says always be with you, if he says there's going to be trouble, then there's going to be trouble. But he also says there's a provision for that. There's a pathway through it. Then there's going to be a pathway through it. I was listening to this song, and I've heard it when I was growing up, but our church wasn't very spiritual. Anybody go to one of those? No, seriously. I mean, we had a bulletin. Y'all have a bulletin? We call a bulletin, but it's not really a bulletin. Y'all have one of those bulletins that laid out exactly what was going to happen in the church service? And like, if Jesus wanted to move, he had to schedule it. Right? That's crazy. It was kind of like that. It was just like, but I remember there was a psalm, and I heard it, and then I was listening to this guy talk this week, and he references, he says, my God's an on-time God. And it was one of those crowd response, my God's an on-time God, and then the crowd says, oh, who is that? Who said that? Who said yes he is? Have you heard the song before? You have? Can you come up here and lead it? I was kidding. Not really. I really need somebody to lead a song. My God's an on-time God. Yes, he is. Okay, we'll just preach to you. My God's an on-time God. Yes, he is. Well, my God's an on-time God. Yes, he is. You believe that, don't you? No, you don't. Because, see, I remember growing up in church, and I would say, my God's an on-time God. And what I meant was, whenever I needed him to come through, he was going to come through. When I needed him to come through, he was going to come through. Whenever I was getting ready to experience a problem, I knew he was going to handle it. Right? Here's the problem. I meant he's an on-my-time God. My God's an on-my-time God. Yeah, right. There's a good answer, but that's really how I live my life. He's on my time. I will let him know when I need him, and when I need him, I expect him to answer quickly, efficiently, and on my terms. Honest. Because what happens, and here's how I know that, what happens is I will need him, and I will talk to him, and then nothing. Yeah. And then some well-meaning Christian will say, well, when God doesn't answer, he's just saying wait. If I'd had the wherewithal to smack all the Christians growing up that I wanted to smack, there'd be a lot of smacked Christians. Don't be one of those guys. No, you just wait. You just wait on God. You just wait on God. He came through for me. He'll come through for you. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You see, what you're feeling needs to be addressed in you, not in God. Your feeling needs to be addressed as God never tells you to wait. And I'm going to say that emphatically, and then I'm going to tell you why I can say it emphatically. If God's telling you to wait, that means he's telling you there's a future. And God already told us he'll never tell you there's a future because he wants you to be right now. in Him. So if you're talking to Him about a solution to a problem, there is a solution to your problem right now. Right now. It might be shut your mouth. It might be breathe. It might be don't say nothing. It might be say this. It might be, but the solution is right now. When I pray, He is right there, right now. Problem, He's not giving me the answer I thought He should give me. So I say, oh, He's telling me to wait. He's not telling you to wait. You can't wait on something that's not promised. So He can't contradict Himself. No, I'm going to tell you tomorrow. Oh, no, I know I told you there's no tomorrow, but we're going to talk about it tomorrow in case there's a tomorrow. No, God talks to you today, right now, immediately. He's never silent. God's never, well, later. I'm busy. He freaking lives inside of your heart. He's all the time God. 100% always with you. Never going to forsake you. Never going to leave you. He's right there. Then what's the problem? He's just not doing what I want Him to do. And that's a huge leap to make. It's a huge leap to get on board. But the first step is to say, I'm not quite on board. But listen, you're in good company. This is supposed to make you feel better, just in case. It probably won't. Look at Job chapter 14, verse 19. Remember this guy? This guy is a guy who the devil was like, hey, Jesus, give me one. Give me one of you guys. So God says, how about Job? Take him. I mean, hello? You ever read that story and was like, I'm glad we got that over with in history. What if it had been you? What if it had been God would have said, hey, consider my servant Tommy. Sorry, you're the last person I talked to. Take him. Throw some stuff at him. Let's see what he's made of. Right? And you read that story and you're like, and Job, man, he was awesome. He just endured it all. He was cool. Look at what Job actually says. As waters wear away the stones, and as floods wash away the soil of the earth, so you destroy the hope of man. Job looks at God and says, I'm like one of those rocks that just keeps getting washed and washed and washed and washed, and even a rock gets withered away, starts to make it thin. And the soil, that the floods come up, Nebraska and all those places in the Midwest, floods come up and wash away the soil, and it's just gone. So you're just like that, God. You're taking my hope and you're throwing it away. This guy who you look up to as the guy who was tested and persevered and succeeded literally looked at God and said, you suck at this hope thing because I'm losing it. I'm losing hope in you. Job? You get upset with yourself a lot of times because you're afraid to admit that. Greatest believer, and yet you destroy the hope of man. Look at Jeremiah. Jeremiah is a powerhouse, man. He's a prophet of God. God says things, Jeremiah repeats them, and people listen. He's the E.F. Hutton of the Old Testament. Is that even the right guy? He talks, people listen. That's him. That's Jeremiah, baby. Jeremiah 15:18. This is the King James Version for all you purists. We're finally Christian here at Beach Baptist. Why is my pain perpetual? That means forever. And my wound incurable. No matter what I pour on it, it just won't go away. Which refuseth to be healed. Wilt thou be altogether unto me as a liar and as waters that fail? God, would you quit lying to me? Would you just quit lying? Have you ever looked at God and said, you're lying? I mean, I know I say it to y'all, but to God, you liar. Jeremiah did. I mean, I'm not saying that makes it okay. I mean, this guy had a couple of books in here. Started to doubt whether what God was saying was really true. It was whether what God had said would happen was actually going to happen. And then you don't get any greater. Here's our story with Elijah. Here's what's happening in Elijah's life right before he ends up at the broom bush tree. I mean, he's a powerhouse. So this is a really cool story, and I love this story because I think if you don't read this with some humor, you're missing out on a whole lot of fun in the Bible. So there's Elijah, and he's with this group of people who are worshiping Baal, and there's an argument going on about whose God is bigger, Baal or Elijah's God. They won't even admit who he is. So Elijah says, let's have a God off, right? Let's just put them side by side. What we're going to do is we're going to pray down some fire. Okay? And then we'll see whose God answers the fastest. Like, Elijah's not even admitting that the God's not going to answer. He's letting them know, whoever's faster, let's put our gods in a race. So they go up on this mountain, and Elijah says, you know what? You go first. So they build this altar, and they put a sacrifice on top of it, and they pray, and they pray, and they pray, and they pray. So, I mean, this is going on for hours now. And Elijah looks over at him a couple of times, and he goes, is he asleep? Y'all need, why don't y'all pray louder? Baal could be napping. We never know. So he starts to taunt them. Are you sure he's listening? Is he up there? Is he home? Right? Did y'all call ahead? In one place he goes, did you schedule this? Did y'all put it on Baal's calendar? So they go, and so finally they get to the point, and they're like, we're done. Baal's busy. Okay. Elijah goes, my turn? They go, yeah. So Elijah builds this altar, puts a sacrifice on top, and digs a trench around it. Now remember, it hasn't rained for years. Years. And he builds a trench. And then he takes water and he pours it on top of the sacrifice, the wood, fills up the trench. Okay? So it all completely, just saturated. These guys are over here going, we might still win. And Elijah prays a paragraph prayer. And so much fire comes down, it consumes the sacrifice, the altar, and evaporates every stitch of water. Come on. That's some faith building right there. God, ignite. Everybody on this side's like this. Baal sucks. Yeah. So now Elijah says, and for my next trick, we're going to make it rain. Oh, yeah, baby, we're going to make it rain. He buries his face in the dirt and prays for rain. He stands up and he tells the king, dude, you better get home because it's going to rain. It starts to rain. And the Bible says that Elijah ran so fast that he beat the king down the mountain on his chariot. I have no idea why he was running so fast because it was going to rain. But this guy's got it going on. Elijah, you want to be like somebody, be like Elijah. And you can talk to God and get a fire going. Let's go. But then the story takes a little turn. He gets a note. Gets a note from the queen. Elijah, stop. I don't like what you did. Angry face emoji. I'm going to get you. I'm going to kill you till you're dead. Stop. Hashtag, I'm going to get you, sucker. And then the Bible says, Elijah ran again. And he hid under the bush. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. 1 Kings 19:3. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then, let's keep reading that real quick. Then he went on into the wilderness, traveling at night, sat down under a solitary broom tree, there you go, last week, and prayed that he might die. Suicide. I'm done with this. Holy crap, this is bad. I just prayed for fire to come down. I just prayed for it to rain, and it hadn't rained in decades, and now it's raining. I want to die. I've had enough. Take my life. I'm no longer better than any of my ancestors who already died. I'm looking. I'm like, what changed? What happened? He got a letter from a woman. That's it. That's the only thing that mattered. It's kind of like when you were growing up and Dad was mad at you. He would just like a look, right? And you would straighten up maybe. With moms, you never know when they were going to snap. They're like, one day it's okay to say that. The next day, not so okay. I mean, like, you would walk in around mom sometimes and be like, I've seen my kids. She would be like, maybe at the sink, and she would turn too fast, and one of my kids, I didn't say it. It wasn't me, man. I mean, literally, that's the only difference. Elijah gets a letter from the queen, scared to death, to the point that he's going to have suicidal thoughts. See, maybe your circumstances don't seem so, maybe they kind of seem trivial, but they can really infect you. And they can and sometimes your situations aren't so trivial, and they can really infect you. But the solution is the same. And we noticed, we talked about that Elijah went and he got a loan, and he was all the things about the broom tree. Go back and listen last week. You want to check that out. But he did all the bad things. He did all the wrong things. Okay, he went and got a loan. He went and hid out, and he let his thoughts get a hold of him, and he did everything wrong. Okay, when he got scared, he fled, and he did that. And sometimes you need to take responsibility for that. It is totally. There are things you can do to avoid certain things of this, like this happening. It is. We're just talking about the honesty that it happens today. Because many of us don't even want to get there yet. We don't want to get that we could be like that. That something could make us snap like that. That could just yank our faith right from underneath us. Right? I mean, if yours is one of those lives where everything's pretty good, where you could say, I've never really had anything that could jar my faith, Number one, you're probably lying. Or you haven't had that much faith in the first place. I can promise you this. The planet wants nothing to do with people who live by faith. It wants to yank the rug out from underneath you. It has to. I mean, it's the most opposite of God as you can get. Crazy. Have you been fleeing? You've been running? Have you been holding up on your own? Been hiding? Well, when bad things happen, I just have to go be by myself. I mean, I'm not saying it, I'm saying that's the wrong thing to do. I mean, maybe take a moment so you don't kill somebody. I got that. That's different. But I mean, to go hide and be by yourself is actually the worst thing you can do. We see it happen, and it's bad. Go back to Matthew 11, verse 2, and you see, how do you get in that spot? How do you become one of these people that have seen God do amazing things and yet feel like He's left you out to dry? How do you get there? Let me tell you. You don't. It just happens. Why don't you write this down? A prison perspective will always cause you to doubt your destiny. You ever felt a prison perspective will always cause you to doubt your destiny? To be bound up by something. To be held captive by something. To not feel free from something, whatever it is. Now, I don't care what that is. This is your own walk. This is your own struggle. But that perspective will cause you to doubt your destiny. Because you will feel so encumbered by it. You will feel like it's such pressure, that it's such heaviness, that there's no way you're ever going to get out of it. And you will say, maybe I've put my faith in the wrong thing. And you lose sight of God because of that perspective. And you just can't seem to put. Maybe somebody let you down. I kind of started with that. Maybe you grew up in a church. You know, this church was actually built on people who hated church. It started with me. And it seemed that every time somebody came, it was like, oh, I hate church. And I was like, me too. And I still do, what their definition of it is. And that definition of everybody lying to themselves when they come into a group of other Christians and pretending like everything was okay and acting like that it was different today than it is any other day. And people that won't say a cuss word as long as you're around another Christian. But hey, get away from other Christians and you just let it go as you want. Or you don't talk about things you did unless you're with other certain people. And you watch the way you talk when you're only around certain people. That's church, and I hate it. We all struggle, we all have our own sins, and we're all going to have to deal with them on our own with God. And you should. But I need to recognize yours isn't any different than mine. And I can't fix yours, and you can't fix mine. And I can either learn to love you or get away from you. That's really the only two choices. Because to stay around people that you don't love causes your witness to suck to the world. And that's not what God wants. God wants you to be around people that you love. And God wants you, but to be held back by something keeps you from seeing what God has through. Read this book, man, and see that the people that He loved them through their pain, through their heartache, through their mess-ups, through their mistakes, through their failures. Nothing caused God to let go of anybody. Nothing caused God to leave anybody alone. To get mad at them. Right? I've done that. Oh, God's mad at me. No, it doesn't exist. There is nothing. Oh, God's not going to bless you. What the heck are you talking about? What do you mean? Oh, He's not going to give you any more money? That's your blessing? Keep it. Oh, He's not going to honor your relationships because you're living in sin. What are you even breathing here? The only blessing God ever promised me, that He was never going to leave me, and that He was going to live inside of me, and He was going to love me no matter what I did or how I thought, because it was all based on Him. And I'm going to follow Him, and I'm going to screw up, and He's going to love me anyway. And there is no consequence in His love for it. Quit telling people, because you're screwing them up. I'm screwing them up. God's not going to bless you because you're doing this. That's bad teaching. Man, it's like one of them liturgical churches. Better not say nothing. Write this down too. Your faith is more important than your failure. He's more interested in your future than He is your failure. God, to think that God's looking at your past, even an hour ago, and saying, you know what, that last hour is going to determine how you and I react tomorrow, is another stupid thing. How is that? Remember, there ain't no tomorrow. It's right now. How's God going to react to you right now? Well, that depends on what I did. No! It has nothing to do with you. If God's going to react to you based on your behavior, we better tear this place down and rent it out. Because ain't none of you got a standard that I'm willing to go behind. I have no standard. If God's treating me the way I reacted, if God's treating me the way I acted, if God's treating me on the way I thought, then I'm running the show. And He's the greatest showman. That was a quick movie reference. I just did it right then. It's a really good movie. I would recommend that. He says, I'll always be with you no matter what. Here, check this out. True story. You get this from Simon Peter. Y'all remember Simon Peter? Y'all remember Peter? Same guy. He couldn't get hired at any of your churches. Heck, he probably couldn't get hired here, and we hire anybody. I mean, Peter, he had a temper. He cut people's ears off. He denied even knowing who God was. He couldn't pass any interview. And look at Luke chapter 2, 22, 31. Here's what Jesus says about Simon. Now, Peter, right before this, Peter had looked at Jesus and said, hey, I'm your go-to guy. Don't worry, I got you back. You know, no matter what happens, when it starts to get tough, I'm your guy. You know, your liver die, that's me. And Jesus says, dude. He didn't really say dude unless you're reading my version. Dude, indeed, Satan has asked for you, Job. He wants to sift you. He wants to shake you up a little bit. What makes you any different than Peter? That Satan wouldn't ask to sift you out. What gives me the right to think that Satan wouldn't try to sift me out? Wouldn't try to shake my faith to see what falls out? What makes me any different? Answer: nothing. You see, Satan had to ask permission once. Now he doesn't. Now he just does it. Now he just grabs a hold of you and shakes you to see what falls out. Let's see what you got. Let's see if you really have faith. Let's just see. But then here's what Jesus says. But I've prayed for you that your faith should not fail. And when you return to me, strengthen your brethren. Now that's a very strange, non-religious prayer. Because I'm going to tell you, if you were saying this prayer, if you were saying this prayer for Peter, I think it would go like this. I'm going to pray that you don't fail, that you quit messing up and embarrassing the family of God. I'm going to pray that you'll quit doing what you're doing. I'm going to pray that you'll quit being who you really are. That's pretty religious. Jesus says, I'm going to pray that your faith should not fail, but when you've returned, when you've come back. Jesus already knew he was going to doubt and prayed for him anyway. Jesus knew what was going to happen. He even announced what was going to happen detail by detail. And still said, when you return to me, I want you to strengthen your brethren. When Satan shakes you and the faith comes out, or what little there's going to show, when you fall flat on your face, when you're just about ready to walk all the way away, right then I'm going to pray that you're going to come back, you're going to return, and you're going to strengthen other people. It's going to be an example. And yet you and I try to let everybody know, it's all roses over here on this side of the cross. Come on over. No, see, our lives are all together now. No, we got this. I mean, we've got better cars, better spouses, better houses, spouses, cars. We got bigger bank accounts. I mean, come on. God is truly blessing us over here on this other side of the cross. Come on over here. No problems. None at all. That's what we've told them. I mean, how many of you were sold a dead bill of goods by some well-meaning person in a church? No, I know your life sucks. Just come right down that altar. Just come right down here and give it all to Jesus and it's all going to be better. No, you're going to stand up, turn around, and be a new man. I heard a testimony of one guy. He says, I walked down that aisle, I knelt down on my knees, I gave it all to God, and I turned around, and I'm still married to her. I kid you not, that was a testimony. And I'm like, brother, you might not want to go home. Don't want to do it. But seriously, but what he was saying was, I mean, he was joking. I think. I don't know. But what he was saying was, to lie. To lie. I turned around and my problems were still there. We don't tell them, hey, over here on the other side of the cross, same problems, different solutions. We have the ability to tap into some different stuff over here on the other side of the cross that you don't. It's available for us. We don't always use it. We're kind of stupid over here on the other side of the cross too. We tend to react to political things a lot like y'all do over there on the other side of the cross because we're stupid. You don't have any choice, but we're over here being stupid. Not you who said amen, but those people over there. We tend to get wrapped up in our own stuff over here on this side of the cross. We don't like to admit it because that would not be being good stewards of our money. Well, yeah, we like to use that word stewardship over here. It makes our savings accounts bigger. Yeah, I know over there you're investing for retirement. I'm investing in the future. I'm seeing what I can do. I'm saving my money so that I can do more things for God when I'm dead. No, I know. But over here on this side of the cross, could we not just let them know, look, over here on this side of the cross, man, this planet still sucks. This planet is not getting any better. But over here on this side of the cross, what we've realized is that we don't belong here anyway. And over here on this side of the cross, we tend to get wrapped up and we start to doubt. And we have to take some breaths. And we have to deal with them. What's that mean for you? It means as many times as you mess up, God just keeps making mercy. There's a verse for that. What is it? Thank you. I already knew it. I was making sure you were listening. His mercies are new every morning. What's that mean? It means you're just going to have to keep digging into them. It isn't a one-time fix. Come on. You're not signed, sealed, and delivered. That used to be a gospel song. Yeah, your future is. Heaven's declared for you. So what? You're not there yet. If this thing was all about heaven, why are you here? Because you're dealing with stuff, and I'm dealing with stuff, and we're having to figure out how to deal with stuff. Hopefully you're not here so that somebody will look at you and go, can you show me how to deal with stuff? Only God can show us how to deal with stuff. I think I got one more. I don't know. What time is it? Oh, crap. Mark 9:23. Jesus said, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. What's that mean? This guy had come and he had this problem with his son. And they would pray for him and nothing happened. They would pray and nothing would happen. But because of somebody in the church, this man now deals with doubt. Can I have 4 seconds for one more soapbox? So today I'm reading on Wednesday, I'm reading on Facebook that there's a church I know. They have scheduled some healings for last night. Had a healing service. Planned a week in advance. Y'all just let that sink in for a minute. Because if I died on Thursday, I'd be so mad. Come on! The calendar wasn't open. Somebody says stupid stuff. No. Everybody come in. We're healing on Saturday. But I'm sick today. It's okay. Just hold on. Healing's coming. I mean, some of the dumbest crap comes out of our mouths. Just pray. Well, you know what? You come in here, we're going to lay hands on you. You come in here, I'm going to lay hands on you. Quit promising people that. That's not what Jesus promised. That's not what Jesus did. Jesus had some pretty cool power. Let's not doubt it, okay? If Jesus said, come over here, I'm going to heal you, get your butt over there. Okay? But because you got an event posted to Facebook doesn't mean it's by God. And just because somebody says if you have enough faith, it'll happen. I'm telling you, we've created a whole lot of that on our own. We've told people, oh no, you just don't believe enough. You just didn't pray hard enough. Tell that to somebody who stood over their kid while they died on a bed. Tell that to somebody who loves God with all their heart, but yet watch somebody die, and then you come along with something stupid like that. There must have been some unmet sin in their life. Yep. You just didn't believe enough. Come on. Jesus, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. It's not a promise that everything on the planet gets better. It's not a promise that everything you believe will happen will happen. It's a promise that if you believe in him enough, then he can do everything that he promises. Then it will happen based on what he has determined will happen because you believe in him. You don't believe in the outcome of something. Well, I have prayed and I've prayed and I've prayed for that job and I just didn't get it. Why don't you just pray to him for a job? That way you can be thankful for the job. Well, we picked out this house and we knew that was the one God had for us, and then all of a sudden somebody bought it out from underneath us. Must have been some unmet sin in your life. Because that's how God deals. He'll help you write the contract on the house as long as you're in good standings. Well, I've prayed for a spouse, and here I am 24. Here's some advice. Wait. I kid. And I've been dating all these people. They're just not the right one. Maybe quit test driving. Maybe just pray. Yeah, and watch. Kind of just live with Christ for now. And let him lead you in certain areas. Maybe swiping right's not the way. I don't know. Maybe Tinder's not the best place to meet. Any of y'all meet on Tinder? What am I kidding? Tinder wasn't even around when y'all got together. What was it back then? How did you even meet people? I don't even know. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't have technology when we met, did we? We did it right. We went to church. I met her in church. Thought horrible, nasty thoughts while I was in church. They were nasty then. They're not nasty now. And I'm married. Last. Oh, crap. I've said that 4 times. Even when you doubt, check this out. Oh, that was not what I meant. Even when you doubt, God still shows up. Even in the midst of fear and doubt and anxiety and depression and loneliness and not knowing what's going to happen, God's still there. Now, that's supposed to make you feel better. And it's okay to say, but it don't. It don't. Not all the time. Listen, if you're out there thinking, if I just think that God's there, I will feel better, and that's what you're telling people, be careful. Come see me. I'll introduce you to some people who believe God's there, but they still don't feel better. They're pretty certain that life's over. Pretty certain that even though they will say, I know he'll hold my hand every step of the way, I just don't feel him. They might even say, I don't even want to feel him. That's okay. It's okay. That's where God calls us to be smart and to be close and to reach out and to not say stupid Christian things and to love on one another. Let grace and love abound. I think I'm probably preaching to somebody today. John 20, verse 19. He said, and this is after his death, burial, and resurrection, because I like this. They've heard that he's alive, okay, but they haven't seen him yet. They're scared to death. Disciples, scared to death. And they walked with him. He said, literally, they got a synopsis of the future, which none of us has ever had, not even a promise, but Jesus said, hey, there's a time that I'm going to die. Don't worry. Within 3 days, I'm going to be back. It's pretty cool. These guys hear that story. Third day, where are they? Behind locked doors because they were afraid. They've seen more in their 3 years of walking with Jesus than many of us have even felt from Jesus in 30 years of walking, all right? Right? I get little glimpses of Jesus. That's all I pretty much get. Because I mix it in with ugly life and I get all this stuff mingled in. But they saw it all. I mean, they watched it. I mean, they fed people. I mean, they watched stuff. I mean, they've seen it. They liked it. It was awesome. I mean, they've seen dead people come back to life. Come on. It's a pretty cool trick. I was there. There was no TV cameras, they could say. But they're behind locked doors, afraid of the Jewish leaders. They're afraid of the people on the planet. Oh, those guys are going to get us. Our promise of heaven, yeah, I know it's there, but those guys are mean. They're nasty. We got to hide. Suddenly, Jesus was standing there among them. He didn't knock. He didn't have to get let in. Suddenly, and now here's where I think we lose a little bit in translation. They realized Jesus was standing among them. You see, that's what you're looking for. That's what you're waiting, that's what you're holding on for. The realization that Jesus is there. You know, when you're sitting there looking out into nothing and going, I don't get it. The realization is what you're after. Because he is there. He's not coming. He's not gonna be there. He is there. You have to know that first. So that then you can realize in no matter what the situation is then. So you don't have to worry, well, I'm really far away from God. I should really go back to him. Bad theology. I'm really moved away. I hope God will come and rescue me. Nope. Bad theology. Realize, no matter where I am, he is with me. He's not ever left me. He has not forsaken me. All those promises he cannot break. And then he says, peace be with you. Now he's not giving them peace. He is reminding them. Okay, I just realized Jesus is with me. Now I have peace. It's almost like third person. See, Jesus is peace. It's almost like saying, Jesus be with you. Peace is with you. It is, but you have to realize it. Locked doors. Say it, locked doors. Y'all suck. Gosh, come on. Because they're afraid. Oh, we're going to finish. Verse 24. I promise. No, we are. Because this is what's really important. John, what the heck? Now, Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. He was out hanging. Have you ever had somebody do that to you? Like something really big and monstrous happened and they go, man, you missed it. And you're like, that's not enough. We're going to go ahead and tell you what happened and keep reiterating how bad it was that you missed it. And that finally you're going, shut up. I'm tired of hearing about it. I missed it. Got it. Anyway, so they go ahead and tell him the story, and they're like, he wasn't with them. What's the next verse? 20, or finish 24. Click it. with them when Jesus came. Verse 25, he said, we're going to read all the way through the 28. The other disciples therefore said to him, we've seen the Lord. Oh, by the way, you missed it when Jesus came back. Okay, that was okay for back then. Please don't be around when somebody tells you that this time. Right? You sure? Promise? Y'all don't believe it. Here's what I'm saying. If somebody says that to you in the near future, like tomorrow, hey, Jesus came back. You missed it. At least this time, Thomas has a chance. Don't miss it. That's my don't get sent to hell speech. We've seen the Lord. Thomas goes, you know what? Tired of you. Tired of your stories. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear nothing about it. He said, unless I get to touch it, unless I get to feel the scars and see it, see his faces and all that stuff, I'm not going to believe it. Disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them this time. Oh, Thomas was like, no, I don't care where you go, I'm going. I ain't missing it again. See, we like to think of him as doubting Thomas. I like to think of him as learn my lesson Thomas. No matter what, nope, he's with, I'm going to be there this time. I'm going to see what Jesus does this time. I'm going to be there. So that's what happens. The door's being shut, stood in the midst and said, once again, Jesus with you. Peace be with you. Now he does that, but he specifically looks at Thomas in the next verse and he says, hey, I'm with you, but hey, Thomas, come here. Verse 27. Did I give you 27? Yeah. Then he said, reach your finger right here. Look at my hands. Reach your hand over here. Put it in the side. Don't be unbelieving, but believing. You see, he could have said, Thomas, come on. You know better. You've heard everything out. They already told you once. Be believing. Be in a state of believing. You know how you beat some of these things? You catch yourself and always be in a constant state of believing. But when you find yourself not believing, stop and start to believe. At least admit, I'm not believing. Hold on. But I can. I've found that many times in my life. If I'll just start saying stuff out loud, and I've told you this many times, if I'll just say it out loud, it makes me sound dumb to even myself. When I stand there and go, God, I don't believe you are who you are. What? Yes, I do. And it's like this trigger in my brain. And I'm like, wait, okay, that was... I realize you are. And there's some peace. Maybe short-lived, maybe long-lived, I don't know. I'm only dealing with that moment. I'm only dealing... It's not like I'm learning that lesson for the rest of my life. I wish I could. How many of y'all learned a lesson about 10 years ago and you've never, ever failed at it again? Oh, good. That is encouraging, actually. I was hoping nobody's going to raise their hand and go, I told a lie and I've never told one again. Good. And Thomas says, my Lord, my God. What do? You don't have any faith? Thomas said, I'm never going to leave the people who did. I'm going to hang close. I'm going to do what I can. And I'm going to believe. I'll be there. I'll realize he's with me this next time. And he pushed and he pushed and he pushed. I don't know what happened to Thomas after this one. Doesn't matter. I need to learn this lesson today. And so do you. Admit that there's some unbelief sometimes. Admit that there's some doubt that he's actually going to do what he says he'll do. But realize he's right there. Believe. Don't be unbelieving. Don't be unbelieving. When you go out there this week and you're really, really, really wanting to wring somebody's neck. Oh, especially one of those other political party people. Oh. Especially one of those newscasters. You know, with those guys, just realize. And I always kid about that because it's easy to deal with. But when you're out there and you really feel like killing yourself, be just as believing. You see, no matter what end of the spectrum we're talking about, he's right in the middle. He's there. He's got you. He's got peace to bring you because that's who he is. Let's stand and go. Wednesday night, we're back in the back building at 5:30 for meal, and we'll have Bible study at 6:15. Come and be with us and share. Don't forget to go visit that coffee shop before you leave and take home a little piece of Guatemala. And remember what's going on. So anything else I was supposed to announce this week? That's good. We're just now coming off a spring break, heading into Easter. Still going to be an active time around here. Don't neglect. Be a part of whatever's going on. So if you look in that bulletin, that's why we provide that for you here. So you can see what's going on, you can be a part of it. Bible studies that are here, meals that are here together, fellowship that's here together, encouragement that's here together. It's going to be a good time of what's going on. We're just, every day, wake up and see what God's doing. He'll surprise you a lot of times. Sim, would you pray for us and send us out?